Our journey to Xi'an and China started in style. So the flight over was comfy and great, so we flew on China Southern Airways. The flight was surprisingly comfy, the food was good, and I was even given possibly the smallest glass of wine I've ever seen. It was perfect for a toast if you're a mouse. I'll talk more about alcohol in China later, so it's great if you're a beer drinker, not so great if you're a wine drinker. We were very excited for our first glimpse of China as we landed in Guangzhou early in the morning, and I have to say, what a first impression, China. The airport was spotless, modern, and incredibly well organised. We had a couple of hours in our labour, so we checked out all the shops in the airport. They weren't that exciting. It was typical sort of duty-free stuff. There wasn't actually an electronics store, which was a bit strange. So it was just alcohol, makeup, that kind of thing. After a smooth transfer, we headed off to Xi'an, the ancient city that would kick off our China adventure. And wow, were we in for a surprise. If you could just hit the subscribe button, that'd be great. It's free to you, but it means a lot to me. So we went on a Tripadil tour to China. So as I mentioned in my first impressions, I was quite worried about the whole idea of going to China, so I decided to go on a tour because I thought it would be so foreign, and check out my first impressions video because it turns out it wasn't. We did have our first taste of one of the convenience stores, which is very much like the convenience stores in Japan. And I grabbed this chocolate thing from Lawson's that was one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life. It's just like this chocolate moussey thing covered in like a chocolate outer with like these little crunchy crumb things on top. Absolutely the best thing ever. If you see one of these, grab one of them. And the thing that surprised us most was the KFC. So these are everywhere in China. It was the first time we saw one of these was at the airport, and it's called a K coffee. And they don't really sell KFC. They sell wings and kind of pastries and stuff like that. So there was sort of like a breakfast pastry. They also do Portuguese tarts, or egg tarts as they call them, and they are really good. Finally got to taste one of those in Shanghai, and I highly recommend it. So when we got to Xi'an, it was just spotlessly clean airport, met by the guides, we went straight out and got on the bus and travelled to our hotel. This was our first glimpse of China. It was really good. It was clean, tall buildings, busy roads. That's what I'd say the first impressions were. And we stayed at the Sheraton Xi'an Hotel. We were greeted immediately by little robot cleaners, which were kind of cute and cool. They've got little personalities, I think. Room was large, really nice. It is supposed to be a 5-star tour we're on. It's supposed to be a 5-star hotel. I wouldn't say it's a 5-star hotel, but it was a perfectly reasonable hotel. So yeah, we were on the 5-star Warriors of China Tripadil tour. We arrived at the hotel around about 2 o'clock, and we changed and we were back out again by 2:30. So we had a free afternoon there. The guide that had picked us up from the airport did tell us all to rest and relax and not go and explore anything, but obviously I wasn't going to waste a half a day in a new city. So we got a Didi through the Alipay app. So easy. So we got the Didi down into the city centre to, say, the Muslim Quarter and the Drum and Bell Towers. Our first thing that we saw was a whole lot of these girls dressed in traditional clothing, which we looked up and we found out about Hanfu girls. So Hanfu girls is one of the most fun and fabulous things you'll spot in China, especially at the heritage sites. So they're just head to toe in stunning traditional clothing that dates back hundreds or thousands of years. Hanfu literally mean hand clothing, and it refers to the flowing robes, wide sleeves and intricate embroidery worn during ancient dynasties. And these aren't just costumes, there's a whole cultural movement behind it. Some people rent the Hanfu for the day and they dress you up and do your makeup and everything. And at some of the places, in particular we noticed it at the train station at peak hour, which is in the underground bit between the bell tower and the drum tower. There was a lot of these girls. They're obviously employed by the shops to sell the experience, I guess you call it. So they all had cards with all the different pictures on it, standing there, waiting for people to come off the train and want to do it. But so many people do it that obviously it's a massive business. So we did go into McDonald's. After the surprising fare at KFC, we had to go into McDonald's and see what was there. So we chose a crispy chicken combo meal, which had 2 pieces of honey barbecue glazed chicken. You could actually choose from different chicken options, but we hadn't tried that, so we wanted to try that. And crispy fries. These are, they're like crinkle cut chips, but they've got sort of a seasoning on them, and they're really good, much better than normal McDonald's fries. And a drink, and that was 39 yuan, so that's about $8 or $5.50 US. And we also got a Szechuan flavour crispy chicken, that was 14 yuan, so $3. This wasn't so nice, I didn't really like this. They were little thin, very crispy pieces of chicken, but they were kind of a bit hard and crunchy, so I didn't think they were that great. And then we went straight to the drum tower. So it's right in the heart of Xi'an. You'll find the drum and bell towers. They're 2 iconic landmarks. And these ancient structures were once the city's timekeepers. So a lot of Chinese cities have these drum and bell towers. So before watches and iPhones, the drum signaled nightfall and the bell rang in the morning. So the bell tower is beautifully preserved. It's surrounded by a roundabout of modern traffic, yet it still feels like it's guarding the city's centre, just like it did in the Ming Dynasty. It's really beautiful, really serene actually when you're in there. A short walk away, the drum tower is just as striking. And if you time your visit right, you can actually hear a live traditional drum performance echo through the halls. We miss this, but that's something I would love to see. And both towers are beautifully lit up at night too. Seriously Instagram worthy, especially with the surrounding lanterns and markets nearby. So if you're in Xi'an this year, it's a must-see, not just for the history, but for how seamlessly ancient and modern China sit side by side. And at the same time, it's this beautiful ancient world. There's also a little museum inside the drum tower, so that's interesting to have a look at. And there's some amazing furniture, and it shows the different time periods. So we then went out after we'd done the drum tower and went over to the bell tower, but on the way we went via some stores. This store that we went through on the way over, it was just like being in Temu but in real life, so that was kind of funny, and had just like absolutely everything in it, but kind of like in a Temu world. So you cross over to the bell tower by going underground. You don't have to cross the massive road with all the cars. It was 50 yuan each for both towers. I think it was 30 yuan for one, but we got the dual ticket so we could see both of them. It's really great. I'd recommend going up here just for the views because you are in the centre of the massive roundabout and you can see all the buildings around and all the cars and everything. And all the way around there are lots of shops. We wandered back down along the right hand side. There was once you'd gone through the underground tunnel, there was shops running along the side coming back towards the drum tower and the Muslim quarter. So there's lots of little shops down there selling food, a lot of these hand food shops and stuff. So that was really quite interesting. So we enjoyed walking through there. And then we made it down and walked along through the Muslim quarter. This one shop was just fascinating, how to get people to come into your shop. So the entrance was this massive steaming dragon. It had everybody stopped, I'm assuming locals and tourists alike. It was a shop just selling jewellery and things, but yeah, what a way to get people to come into your shop. I think best marketing I've seen in a long time. So there's just lots of shops, lots of food, lots of people as you come along the Muslim quarter. Very interesting. This runs all into the evening, so it's a great place to grab something to eat. As I say, we didn't really try the street food. We did try some in Shanghai that was maybe not quite street food. It was in like a little food court. So that was quite busy, so we felt it was probably a bit safer. I didn't actually have that, but my husband had some soft shell crab there. So as you come through, at the end, there is the statues, and there's like this sort of little wall thing. And we just grabbed a taxi from there and went back to the hotel because we were just absolutely exhausted, having been travelling all night. So we went back to the hotel. We just had something quick to eat in the hotel restaurant. I just had a wonton noodle soup. It was okay. It wasn't great. The soup, and sometimes they just come with sort of a plain broth, but there was seasoning to put in it. Once I put the seasoning, it was good. My husband had the beef rendang, and he said that was really good. I'm allergic to coconut, so obviously I didn't have any of that. So yeah, so good night's sleep. Then we actually had a 10 a.m. meet up the next morning, so that was quite good. So we went off in the coach to the Terracotta Warriors. So we got to see quite a lot of the city as we were driving along, and so that was quite nice. And we went through one of many toll booths, and we went to the reproduction factory first. If you do go on a trip a deal or a similar kind of holiday to China, the reason these are quite cheap, especially, like your airfares and that it's sponsored by the government. So there's certain places that you have to go to, like jade factories, silk factories, etc. You don't have to buy anything, but you have to go listen to the talk. The government is sponsoring people to get tourists from overseas to come. So one of the things we went to was this reproduction factory. It's actually really interesting. Watching the people making these little reproductions and how they're made was fascinating. I do love arts and crafts, so I found that fascinating. You can even get a full-size terracotta warrior with your own head. So they take your photo and they create it and they ship it to you. Costs a couple of $1,000s. I did joke that maybe I should get one and give it to my kids and tell them they'd have to keep it forever, because I don't know what they're going to do with a life-size terracotta warrior of me. There was also a lot of furniture that they would ship. I don't know if it was good value or not really my kind of scene. And lots of other little souvenirs you can buy. And there was terracotta warriors and horses of every size imaginable, from small, not as small as I wanted really teeny ones, up to massive. So something for everybody's personal size and budget was available. The thing I found really fascinating about these reproductions that they make is, so the original terracotta warriors were styled on actual people. So I can imagine at the time being chosen as one of the warriors to be modelled on would have been like an amazing thing. But can you imagine how they would feel knowing that, now that there's people buying these little reproductions of them? Like, that to me was just almost a chilling thought about how, something you don't know how it's going to be perceived in the future and immortalized. Those reproductions, they air dry them for 2 weeks and then kiln dry them for a week. So it's quite a lot of work that actually goes into making these little reproductions. There was a lot of jewellery at the shop as well. So there was something if you wanted to grab some souvenirs. They're very into selling you things. So from there, it was just a 15-minute drive over to see the Terracotta Warriors. So the Terracotta Warriors is an absolute bucket list for me. So I was so excited about this. And I wasn't disappointed at all. Like, it was better than I could imagine. You see the pictures and it looks so large. Well, it's bigger than you can imagine. It was just the most amazing experience. And this was one of the times where there was another extra charge. So if you wanted an earphone so you could hear what the guide was telling you, these cost 20 yuan. So it's not expensive, so like about $4, but we did find that there was always something extra to pay with the trip a deal price. So there's 3 pits to see at the Terracotta Warriors Museum. So the pit 1 is the best one for the photos. So there's 6,000 of the 8,000 warriors that have been unearthed are here, and this is sort of what you've seen in pictures and stuff. There's also a second pit, which is the largest, and pit 3, which is the smallest one. But in these other pits you can see how they're conserving them, how they're digging them up. And there's also a little museum part. So it's good to go into all of the pits. I would have liked to go back to pit 1 again at the end and just spend some time looking at that, because they were just amazing. As I say, they're each are individuals, like they're modeled on people, and just the expressions, how different they were, just amazing. And to think that there's still a whole load more, so they haven't unearthed all of them, and they're not unearthing a lot of them yet because they don't have the technology to conserve the colors and stuff. So once the air hits them, they will lose their colours and lustre. Also, a lot of them are broken. An earthquake did shatter a lot, so there is a lot of work just putting together the ones that they've already found. But yeah, so there's the warriors, there's the horses. I loved the horses so much. And there's also the chariots. There's not very many of these around, but we did find some that you could still see them in the where they were digging them out, so that was pretty cool. So back in 1974, a farmer was just digging in his farmland and he found the Terracotta Warriors. So you do have an opportunity to meet the farmer. So there is a picture of him outside from when he was younger, and we took a photo there. And then you go into the shop and he's actually there, shakes hands with everyone, can sign his book if you want it. So we did that. That was free to have the photo. I think they expect you to buy the book, but we didn't. So outside, all along here, is lots of places you can grab a drink. After the museum, we went out and we went to a restaurant for a share meal. We paid for this. So it was 80 yuan for the meal, so that's about $16. So not the cheapest, obviously it's a lot cheaper to buy yourself, but it was nice to have a share meal. Yeah, there was lots of courses, lots of different things, great to share and to get to know the people on the tour. We were really lucky. We had an absolutely amazing group on our tour. We all got on so well, so that was really enjoyable. There was an optional night tour that was 20 yuan. We didn't go on this. We just met some of our new friends for a drink in the bar, and then we went to the city wall so we could see it at night. We didn't go up the city wall because it was about to close. But it was great to go there at night. It was really vibrant. This was one of the times where I was like, oh, we're sort of led to believe that in China everybody's kind of under control and sad, and it wasn't. There was just a whole lot of people out having a great night out. Getting something to eat, having a drink. It was just like being in any other vibrant city, and maybe even more so than in a lot of other cities because it's very safe. So everyone feels safe there, and everyone was having a great time. So I highly recommend popping into the city at night. You can see here the drum tower lit up as well, so that's also well worth a visit at night. So we drove around it in the taxi on the way back. So that was pretty cool. So that was the end of day 2. And then up next morning. So the buffet meals in the hotels are just amazing. There is more food than you can imagine. Western food, Chinese food, pastries, fruit, everything you can imagine. So the food is great. If you are worried about not being able to eat later and you can't eat a massive breakfast to keep you going, you can just take a pastry or a piece of fruit with you. Okay, so we had to check out on the Friday, so we had to be down in the lobby at 9 a.m. with our luggage and everything because we were going to the train station to get the bullet train to Beijing. But on the way we went to the Wild Goose Pagoda and to the wall. So the Wild Goose Pagoda is a Buddhist temple. We enjoyed walking around here. It was rainy, but other than the rain, it was really nice. Actually, the rain was really good because it was really hot, and the rain actually did cool us down quite a lot. We were each given these incense sticks to light and put in to, make a prayer. There are lots of cats around. So these were a couple of the cats that we saw at the temple. It's a really stunning temple. You can spend ages just looking at the decorations here, just all around the outside. Just absolutely stunning. All of the temples, and actually the whole of China, is just full of plants. And actually, if you notice in some of the videos when I'm driving along, even all alongside the roads, there's flowers, roses. Yeah, they've obviously got a team of people that maintain all of this. But yeah, everything is set in all these beautiful gardens. So we really enjoyed walking around here despite the rain. So I was glad I brought a raincoat. And then we were taken to the city wall. So I think this was to the west entrance, which was different to where the south entrance, I think it was, that we'd gone to the night before. The guide did charge us 100 yuan for entry, and I know it's 54 yuan to actually get in. So this is another thing with the Tripper deal prices. What they charge you is extra. But saying that, this was the one that I actually thought was a bit too much. I would have thought 60 or 70 would have been fine for them to make a profit on. I felt the 100 was a bit much, but they do make it easy for you to go to these things. You see a lot in a short time. If you were going to do that, you'd spend more time queuing up to get your ticket. We then did lunch again, another 80 yuan. Not everybody did this. A lot of people went and just walked around the shops. I was feeling a little bit hungry, so I did do it. My husband went and had a walk, and he really enjoyed it, seeing the shops, and he found a frieze that was telling the story of Xi'an and its history. Uh, as I say, once again, the lunch was pretty good, and it was, a nice chance to sit down and chat. Then we got in the coach and we went to the train station. The train station was unbelievable. It's like an airport. I had heard this, but it still shocked me how big it was, how organized it was. One thing in China is you have to go through security to go anywhere. So any temples you go into, any train stations, you've got to get your bag scanned. So it's something on the safety thing. Everything is really safe, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. But once you get used to it, you're just used to having everything in your bag, and you just throw your bag down and go through these security checkpoints. As you can see, the train station honestly just looks like an airport. We found some massage chairs. A lot of people were just sitting in them because they were comfy, I have to say. But found an empty one, had a 15-minute massage. So then we got into the bullet train. So this was our first high-speed train experience, and that was pretty exciting. So the bullet trains can go 350 kilometers an hour. The fastest we saw, which is the one going to Suzhou, was 342 kilometers an hour. So we didn't see one actually go 350, but they can go 350. But even at like 250 kilometers an hour, it's still super fast, and it doesn't feel like it. And the journey was great. Like, it was really interesting. So lots of different countryside and different geological features as we were going through. So we really enjoyed going on the train trip. We weren't actually seated together, my husband and I, but the guy next to me, I just put in on the translation app and said, would you be happy to swap with the person in seat 14A? Pointed out where it was, and he said, yep, sure. And, all by translation app, and we swapped seats. So that was good. So we didn't get to Beijing until 10 o'clock. So when we got to the hotel there, we just went straight to bed. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. It really does help my channel grow, and you'll be the first to see my new travel videos when I put them up. So until next time, bye!